What started as a lyrical war is now turning into something much bigger. Streaming audits, legal battles, questions about legacy. The tension between Kendrick Lamar and Drake has officially left the booth, and now it's the platforms, the fans, and the industry itself watching closely. Because with every new leak, every number that gets wiped, and every claim tossed in court, one thing becomes clearer. This isn't just about a diss track anymore. It's about truth and what happens when the numbers don't match the narrative. Stay locked in, because what we're about to break down might change how we see the past decade of hip-hop. Be sure to like and subscribe, because this one's going to sting. The numbers told one story, but now the platforms are telling another. In June, Spotify rolled out one of its largest ever purges of artificial streams, wiping inflated counts, filtering bot traffic, and cleaning house across every genre. And while many artists saw slight dips, 3 major names in hip-hop took a bigger hit than expected: Nicki Minaj, Kanye West, and yes, Drake. Now this isn't about who's real or fake. This is about optics, because for an artist like Drake, whose dominance has long been measured in pure volume, streams, charts, playlists, even a slight shake in those metrics sends shockwave. Fans noticed it, labels noticed it, and Kendrick Lamar's camp definitely noticed it, especially when Kendrick's own numbers stayed intact, untouched, and unaffected. That contrast, it's fueling the fire, because it's no longer about who dropped the better bar, it's about who's standing on solid ground. And as the Not Like Us lawsuit heats up behind the scenes, those metrics could become legal ammo. Suddenly, a few missing streams are more than a data glitch. They might be the start of a whole new narrative. While other catalogs were quietly adjusted behind the scenes, Kendrick Lamar's stats didn't budge. Spotify's purge came and went, and Kendrick's monthly listeners, stream counts, and chart placements stood tall. No dents, no deletions, no disputes. That matters, because if Kendrick's catalog had seen a similar dip, this entire conversation might have looked different. But instead, what we got was confirmation that Kendrick's rise wasn't just loud, it was legitimate. Songs like Not Like Us and Euphoria didn't just trend, they transformed into cultural moments, played in clubs, blasted at rallies, quoted across the internet. And now that his tour is in full motion, packing stadiums across Europe, selling out Cologne, Berlin, and Paris, the numbers aren't just digital anymore. They're real people, real tickets, real arenas. This is why Kendrick's team isn't worried, because the narrative that he's somehow inflated or artificially boosted, it's collapsing. And if Drake's side plans to argue that Kendrick's viral success is built on smoke, this untouched data might become the strongest defense Kendrick never even had to say out loud. If you've made it this far, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We're only getting started. Behind the scenes, the lawsuit is getting more complex. Sources say Drake's legal team is building a case that challenges the legitimacy of Not Like Us's virality, suggesting that at least 10% of its streams may have been artificially inflated, not necessarily botted, but influenced, meaning once fans saw big numbers, they were more likely to click play again and again. It's a bold argument, and it hinges on proving that Kendrick's momentum wasn't organic, that the hype was manipulated by visibility rather than substance. But here's where it gets tricky. Kendrick's streaming record hasn't been flagged by Spotify or Apple. There's no evidence of mass deletions, no audit trail, no algorithmic red flag. Meanwhile, Drake's own stream count is now under scrutiny, not because he did something illegal, but because the industry is re-examining how his numbers got so high for so long. This isn't a diss war anymore, it's a data war. And if Drake wants to challenge Kendrick in court, he'll have to walk a fine line between critiquing the system and proving he wasn't favored by it. For years, Drake benefited from the structure of the streaming era, and that's not a dig, it's just how the game was built. From autoplay settings to algorithmic playlisting, tracks like One Dance, God's Plan, and even deep cuts were placed in front of millions, often without listeners even searching for them. And when Apple Music dropped its all-time top 500 list, the presence of lesser-known Drake tracks raised questions. Why were some songs still charting that hadn't been actively promoted in years? The answer might lie in platform design, autoplay, curated loops, and legacy playlist placements that kept songs alive artificially longer than expected. This isn't exclusive to Drake. It's part of a broader conversation about how streaming services shape success, sometimes creating the illusion of demand through exposure. But here's the issue. issue. Now that platforms are cleaning house and cracking down, the artists most entangled in that system are facing uncomfortable recalibration. Kendrick's catalog? It was built differently. Intentional drops, minimal playlisting, no flood of filler content. And in this climate, that difference is starting to show. Now what happens when the system starts turning on its own stars? The platforms built him up. Now they might be breaking him down, not out of spite, out of necessity, with regulators, advertisers, and investors all asking tougher questions about transparency. Spotify and Apple have no choice but to clean up their metric. That means no more bloated playlists, no more autoplay inflations, and definitely no more unchecked chart dominance without accountability. And when your career is built on maximizing visibility across every surface, like Drake's was, even a minor shift in platform behavior can reshape the entire narrative. This isn't about erasing his legacy, it's about redefining how that legacy was built. Now here's where things get even more layered. Insiders speculate that labels themselves, including UMG, may be the ones pushing for these audits behind closed doors, not to attack Drake, but to protect the integrity of the industry as a whole, especially now that courtrooms are involved. And if those audits confirm what some suspect, that certain numbers were artificially elevated for years, it could spark a reckoning far bigger than just one artist. Because what if this isn't just about Drake or Kendrick? What if this is about the truth behind the streaming era itself? For a long time, the industry turned a blind eye to inflated metrics, whether it was bots, autoplay, or aggressive playlisting. The goal was simple: look massive, stay trending, dominate perception. And in that game, Drake played the role perfectly. He was everywhere, all the time, from gym speakers to TikTok trends. But now, as platforms start separating perception from reality, the artists who once thrived off ubiquity are being re-evaluated. This isn't to say Drake didn't have hits. He did, undeniably, but the volume of his presence may have been amplified by the mechanics of the system itself. And now, with Kendrick's rise built on organic reach, cultural impact, and intentional scarcity, the contrast is sharper than ever. The current purge isn't just deleting bots, it's deleting illusion. And what's left behind might tell us who really had the culture and who just had the clicks. What we're witnessing isn't a fall, it's a shift, one that's asking every artist a new question. Were people listening because they loved it, or because it just kept playing? Now the moment, not like us, became a legal focal point. The game changed. What started as a diss track became an exhibit, a data point in a courtroom. And Drake's team, they're not just arguing lyrics anymore. They're building a case that suggests Kendrick's record-setting run was propped up by questionable streaming behavior. But that argument is risky, because if Kendrick's numbers remain untouched as they have through every Spotify audit so far, the legal burden flips. Now it's Drake's catalog under the microscope, and that puts pressure on his entire decade of dominance. Attorneys are already circling around questions like, were certain songs promoted beyond fair play? Did playlisting cross into manipulation? Were metrics ever used to crowd out competition? These aren't conspiracy theories. They're real angles being explored in the wake of this lawsuit. And if Kendrick's legal team chooses to counter, they might dig even deeper into how certain artists benefited from the structure of the streaming boom. This case isn't just artist versus artist anymore. It's artist versus era. And the verdict could rewrite what we thought we knew about modern hip-hop's biggest names. Kendrick isn't just a rapper on a winning streak. He's become a symbol of everything the industry claimed to want, but rarely backed: authenticity, intentionality, artistry over algorithm. While others flooded the platforms with projects, deluxe editions, and endless features, Kendrick went silent, then returned. With one calculated verse, one cultural moment, one stadium-filling tour, all without chasing the trend. And now, as streaming platforms reevaluate what counts as real, Kendrick is the measuring stick. Because when the smoke clears and the bots get wiped, his numbers stay. His shows sell out. His lyrics go viral without a TikTok campaign. That's not marketing, that's momentum. And in a world where charts can be gamed, Kendrick's impact is starting to look like the control variable in an industry that's been all noise. This is what scares the machine, not because Kendrick exposes anyone personally, but because he proves it's possible to win without playing their game. And the more he wins, the more that truth becomes undeniable. What we're watching isn't just two artists competing, it's an entire industry reaching a crossroad. Streaming isn't going away, but how it's measured, rewarded, and weaponized, That's under the microscope now. For years, chart success was everything. But if numbers can be inflated, autoplay can tilt outcomes, and fake streams can survive for years before being detected, what does chart dominance even mean? And if Kendrick can chart, tour, and trend without relying on any of that, does that make him an exception or the new standard? Labels are watching, executives are reassessing, and artists who once played the quantity game are now wondering if that strategy still holds. Because if Kendrick's minimal drop, high-impact approach keeps working, we might see the Drake model give way to a new one where less is more and meaning beats metrics. That shift won't happen overnight, but this lawsuit, this tour, this purge, they're all signals that the old way of winning might not be enough anymore. This isn't the end, it's the unraveling. Every audit, every court filing, every missing stream pulls back the curtain just a little more. And behind it, we're seeing two very different paths. Drake's team is holding the line, defending his legacy, and pushing back against accusations that could stain a decade's worth of success. Kendrick, meanwhile, isn't saying much because he doesn't have to. The charts, the crowds, the culture, they're all doing the talking. But make no mistake, what's on the line isn't just bragging rights. It's influence, it's credibility, and depending on how this lawsuit unfolds, it could define the rules of the streaming era moving forward. If Drake is cleared, it stabilizes the system, but raises questions about how that system was used. If Kendrick's untouched numbers hold as the gold standard, it recenters the value of authenticity in a game that's long rewarded volume. Either way, the next move matters, because this isn't just about two legends clashing, it's about how hip-hop wants to be remembered in the digital age. So now I want to know, what do you think this means for the future of hip-hop? Leave a comment, drop a like, and don't forget to subscribe. We've got more coming, and if you missed it, check out the video where Kendrick's verse sent shockwaves through the industry. You'll see exactly why this battle is far from over.